Okay, I just went and got my seals. So I just have my standard K-line seals. These stick up about 100 to 125 above the top of the guide. And we got about 180, so it gives an extra 50, so we got plenty of room for seals. So that's not a problem. So all I got to do is check to make sure all 4 of these have the same install height, and we should be pretty much good to go on these. So, go ahead and take this back apart. Okay. So we know what our load number is. Lock that back up. So I'm just going to take my measurement here from the base of the valve guide up to our seal lip. So it looks like we're about 1.300 there. Go to the other side over here and measure this one. Looks like we're right in the same area. So that's good. And we just do the same thing with the other head here. Make sure everything is in the same general numbers. So we have about a 20th thou variable we can run, but right now we're everything's about within 10. Okay, this one is right at 300. And that one's good also, right at 300. Okay, these are all pretty darn close to the same height. So that makes it pretty easy to do. Alright, so we shouldn't have any problem with that. Let's see, I'll probably just go ahead and check my TD overlap clearance just to make sure everything's good. So we already ran this motor this way, but he's putting a new cam in it. But I don't know what he has for a cam, but I'll just give it some generic lift numbers. We'll throw about 200, 220. I'll throw a 225 intake lift in here. And we'll throw a 200 exhaust. That's a decent, pretty hot cam. And we just look at our clearances down here. You can see the clearance between our valves is really, really tight. But we do have clearance in here. So if his cam has a really big duration numbers to it, we're going to have to be careful. So I'll get more information on what his cam is, but for now he should be fine. That is a runnable number the way it was, but just real tight. He's got some pretty good springs in here, looks like, so he shouldn't have a problem. If he's running a lot less lift on a TD, like a 170 to 190 TD lift, well, he have plenty of clearance. Okay, so that's all straightforward. So from here, we'll just move on to our assembly. So let me get cleaned up and get back to that. Okay, we're back here now. Let's go ahead and get this thing together. First thing I do is I'm going to put some Loctite on the valve guide here to hold the valve seals in. This is sleeve retainer Loctite, which is your 640. So I just put a little layer of that around the upper valve guide here. Take your finger, wipe it off the top if there's any on top. Make sure you do not get any of it inside the ID of the hole. It will stick the valve to the guide, which would not be a good thing. Now this is just a secondary seal. The press fit of the seal on the guide should be enough to hold it, but I always like having a little extra holding power. It'll also help seal up a little bit of oil gap in the seal when you beat it on too, if it has any. Okay. Which head am I on? I am on the front head. So next thing to do is we oil up the valve stem. So I use Torkel assembly lube. It's a nice thick oil that stays on for at least 30 years, I found out on the one motor we had. Sat around since the early 70s. Still nicely lubricated. When I tore it apart to check it out, it was never run. always spin them a little bit as I put them in there, just to make sure you work the oil all the way around the whole surface of the guide. Put a nice even coat all the way over the whole stem, obviously. So you just kind of spin it in there as you go, as you push it in. And once it's in, I do the same thing back and forth a couple times and rotate it. So when you first start the bike up, that's the only oil that's going to be in there for a while. It's going to take a while to work its way past that seal. One disadvantage of seals, you don't get no oil on your valves. Okay, it's all in there. Alright, where's my board at? Soft board for beating on it so I don't scratch up my gaskets. I'll keep your gasket surface clean and burr free. Okay, so on this setup here, we got to make sure that we put this little collar piece they have goes on first. Now this is only for Thunderheads, not for any other vehicle out there. And we got our valve shim. And then the seal goes in. I didn't check to make sure the seal fits in there. It does. It's always a good thing to check out. Okay, I got two big ones and two small ones. Those are intakes, those are exhaust. We're on an intake. So I just kind of rotate the seal back and forth on the head as I put it on. Exhaust in here. And blow that up a little bit better, maybe, might help. So you can see how that just slips over the valve guide. So you just take the seal and rock it back and forth like this. You go past the top of the valve, now you go past that keeper groove. And then slip it on down. If you push it really hard straight down, you can actually shear the seal lip and cause a problem. Pull that back a little bit. Okay, now we got an install tool here. So the seal just fits down inside of here, holds it, and you just beat it in. You got a hole in here for the valve guide to go through, for the valve stem. Make sure the valve stem's all the way up inside of it. And we just tap this down with a hammer. You can hear it bottomed out. I'm not hitting very hard there either. Then I just take it and make sure it does not rotate. It doesn't. If it rotates, pull it back out and do a different one. Okay, those fit nice and tight. Make sure everything works freely. So we do the other head. Now if you forget to put all these other parts on there first, you get to tear the seals back off. So try to remember to do what you're doing. That is the exhaust. On this motor we got 1132 exhaust stems, 5/16 intake, so it takes two different seals. Go. Just tap this one down again. Sure the valve's all the way up. Hold it so you can see a little better. So once you're over the top of the stem, then it goes down easier until the bottom's out. Tight. So you don't have to beat it hard. If you beat it too hard, you screw the seal up. Okay, once it hits the top of the valve guide, if you keep shoving on it, it just destroys the seal. So you don't need to do that. Okay, that's all done. Get our board out of the way. Clean off the workbench. Okay, now we just matter putting our springs in here. So just slip that on over the stem there. This is my Sportster valve spring compressor. This is made by Britex. This is from the 60s probably for Triumphs and BSAs. Works good on Sportsters too. And race bikes. Does not work very good on big toys. Okay, just kind of hold it here with your fingers over here. Kind of hold it where it goes over the valve stem. If it doesn't quite go in the hole, you have to adjust it a little bit. This one went straight in real nice. You can see where the keeper groove is down in there. So right in there's a groove. Screw that a little bit. Now I just kind of hold my finger back here in the back side to catch the keeper. The camera out. And just take your screwdriver and kind of lightly put it in there. And I use my finger to hold it up against the bottom of the valve stem. So it's right now it's flat up against the bottom of the valve. And I just take this, the other keeper, and just drop it straight in on top at a slight angle. It kind of just sits right there like that. And then just slightly drop it in the hole. If the valve spring's compressed enough, it goes in. So I get a little bit more in the valve spring compressor. It's another half a turn. Now it dropped right in. So it should all be nice and flat. And then just slowly unscrew it. The whole time I'm holding the keeper on the back side. And once you got some pressure on it, then you can go ahead and put the head down and pull the spring compressor off. Now, right now this keeper groove, this keeper is not in there all the way correctly. So right now it's a loaded bomb waiting to hit me in the head. So this has radius keeper grooves, and for some reason it didn't pop in there like it's supposed to. Probably because I'm trying to show you how to do it on the camera and you can't see. And you hear a little pop right there. It popped right in. I can wiggle it. It's in the groove right now. I just let the tension off a little. And now you can see that it's seating in there all the way clean like it's supposed to be. So then I take my little screwdriver here. I push it directly on top of the keeper, just one at a time, right dead center in it. I just give it a little bit of tap with my hammer and go one little tap. Then I go into the other keeper and do the same thing. Now you want to make sure that the valve is not being pushed in the table when you do that, because you can bend the valve. And I just make sure I rattle it, make sure everything is in the groove where it belongs. Sometimes they move slightly when the shock of it doing that. So then you take a final look at it and make sure it's all in there nice and smooth like it should be, and you know it's in there good. So if it doesn't look right, stop and redo it. I haven't had a keeper that didn't go in a lot of years, so obviously trying to show you everything on the camera makes it hard to do all this. So, now this side over here hits on the back side of the valve. Kind of self-centers in there while you're doing this. Got to get the head where you can hold it. So I try to hold the tool in the center of the valve collar. Helps to get the right terminology here. Okay, that's plenty deep enough. Okay, make sure it's in there. Okay. So it's extra hard trying to show you what I'm doing here, so working at weird angles. So this time I got it right the first time. What a shocker. Give you a little love tap. That little popping noise you hear is the spring, is the valve popping off the seat. So that's how you know you're compressing the spring. So anyway, so that one's all done. So make sure they're nice and even. Everything looks good on this side. Make sure you didn't put any nicks on the surface here. Would be a good thing. So this one's all done. So I'll go ahead and pop the other one in there and be all done with these. So that's how you do a set of thunderheads here. And so these are pretty rare. And these are the rocker arms here. So they can sit on there like that. And that's what the setup looks like from the side when it's on your motor. So pretty nice head setup. Definitely rare. Hard to come by. And you can see everything has to be custom made to fix them because they don't make parts for these things anymore. So I'm all done with these. We'll move on to something else.